All right, temporary snafu there. We're going to start again. We talked about Superflex. If that video is still on here, I'll go ahead and add that. It was just a minute talking about how we think Superflex is going to make the league more competitive according to Vance, and that some teams are carrying too many quarterbacks now, and the mediocre quarterbacks are far more mediocre. And that it saved teams like replacements and Mudcats by having a need for only one quarterback rather than two. Let's talk about new revolving divisions. I've got KC, Cavance Crusaders here with me. Alf, if we don't get these up on the original one up, I want you to know Alf's here too. The new revolving divisions, which are no division at all, but the way that it will work is that you will play every team in the league once each year, and then you'll basically be seeded each year. So the top 4 teams will play each other in the following year. The 5 through 8 will play each other a second time in the following year, and the 9 through 12 will play each other in the following year. Thereby, if you're one of the playoff teams, you'll play all the other playoff teams a second time, supposedly giving you a bit of a harder schedule, and on down, if you were a terrible team, you should play the other teams that didn't have quite as good a record. There can be some ways to play that as the season goes on, lose a game or two to try to get yourself an easier schedule next year. I think you're still probably looking at doing that to get a draft rather than look at I could play, the new team coming in an extra time. What do you all think? Any thoughts on changing the division into this?
I think we're going to see how that works out in the future. I'm kind of like you. I think people are still more interested in setting up for the draft pick than they are who they're going to be playing against. But it will change the win-loss category drastically, I think. But you should really see the people who are playing moving up into the elite groups, and the ones who just don't understand Dynasty League football or who are really struggling with their team are going to stay in that lower tier.
I do know 2 of the last 3 years, 3 of the 4 best teams have been in one division. Now, it's been 2 different divisions, but I know that it's got to suck to be the 3rd team in your division going, well, I'm better than everybody else that's making it, but I can't get past these 2, and I'm stuck. So I'm hopeful that this will actually give everybody a chance rather than going, my division's just too good.
Right.
I got 2 great teams in my division. I can't get past them.
I think the biggest thing that I can see being a fault is one of those bottom 4 teams are going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So that's just mine. That's almost a walk-in game for somebody.
It gives you...
Maybe. Like I said, I need to see how this works out, but an under 500 team being in the playoffs, I think we've discussed that one year before, is kind of disturbing when you're running a 10-win team.
Exactly.
I think that's what's going to happen this time, though, is it? It's going to be the top 4 teams in the league.
Yeah, that won't happen again. No,
okay,
there's no divisions. There's the top 4 records will make it in.
Oh wow, okay.
So there you won't have. I'm sorry.
So you could have a whole division or a whole.
I was looking at it different than you. I was looking at it as, for instance, if you assume that my team is good, but we tanked last year, we'll get a few easier games this year and move us up. It'll always balance itself out. So if you have a good team that's had a bad run, you can get a little easier schedule the next year. But no, in the current year, it will be the 4 best records.
Okay.
And then you'll have tiebreakers, I'm sure, that'll come in. So you won't have a 6-8 or...
one that's already looking better than I thought it would.
All right. Let's see. I wrote down here, London Fletcher not voted into the Hall of Fame. That was a crazy thing this year. The number 1 linebacker when he retired didn't get in. He's still number 3. And the reason I mention this, not because I care so much about Hall of Fame voting, although some of you didn't vote again.
And again. And again.
Do people not respect the IDP? Is that the problem? Are people not realizing how many points you can score a week in IDP?
Well, I think the IDP is probably a little devalued compared to other positions because there's so many players out there.
Will that change then with the next 2 years? Because this year we've got a flex IDP, which will turn into an additional defensive line, an additional linebacker, and an additional defensive back next year. So now you're going to start 2 defensive linemen, 4 linebackers, and 4 defensive backs next year. And when you do that, that means you're going to have as many defensive players as you have offensive skill players, not counting your kicker.
Well, welcome to football. My opinion on that is I would challenge anybody to look at my team because I've always valued the defense probably more than anybody else in the league. I don't have the dominating offense of Rags or Renegade, But I put a lot into my defense, and I think that's one of the reasons I'm in the top tier of the teams out there. So I challenge anybody, if you're not familiar with the IDP, get some magazines, figure it out. Because if you don't understand what position gets tackles and which ones are getting sacks and which ones are basically blocking, the name of the player is not nearly as important as the stats they put up. So when you start talking right now on the waiver wire, Von Miller's out there. He's a great player.
Yeah.
But there are better players out there statistically than Von Miller just because of his name. So, I think IDP forces people who enjoy football to study football and build something other than going, I know the big names in football.
And keep in mind, this year we've added a bench spot for defense only, so that this time next year, I keep going to next year, there'll be 132 at least defensive players on teams. Does that make a difference?
It's going to make a huge difference.
Is that when everybody starts going, well, crap, I should have had defensive?
Absolutely. If you haven't been working your defense in the last couple of years, you're going to be behind the power curve come next year.
And that's why London Fletcher not making the Hall of Fame stands out to me, that people didn't realize the number one defensive player didn't make the Hall of Fame in a vote. What do you need? I mean, is it not worth having a defense? I think it's going to change next year, but let's see. I just got a couple interesting defensive special teams facts. The Ravens were the number one overall team throughout the course of the league by over 100 points. The Raiders were last. They were the only team in 15 Blood Bowl seasons not to reach 1,000 points. They scored exactly 999 points.
Wow.
Nice.
It's horrible.
These are just the little things that amuse me.
It's horrible.
That's terrible. The Seahawks won 3 championships. The Ravens, the number one scoring, 0.
Wow.
The Raiders, who had 999 points, the only team not to break 1,000, they won 1.
Somebody must have picked them up late in the year.
It must have been.
Just for a matchup against Cleveland, I would guess.
And again, I don't think any of that matters for anything. Just neat little facts you get. The last thing I've got, that wide receiver tight end spot. I'll go on record today. I'm not a huge fan of the super flex. Everybody in the league wants to do it, or a majority wants to do it, so I'm fine with giving it a try. We'll see how it works. Just because I don't like something doesn't mean we can't do it. The wide receiver tight end, I didn't like that last year, but I love it now. I came around to 180 degrees on that one. I thought that was the stupidest thing, to get rid of a wide receiver spot and turn it into a wide receiver tight end flex. I think the difference is when we made the tight end worth a point per reception rather than a half point, gave you so many different options. It valued. No, tight ends are still not the number one receivers. But if you ask me during the middle of the season, there's a guy in the free agent pool that's Tavon Austin, who might get me 6, might get me 12, or I can go out there and I can get, I'm going to say somebody who scores too much, but Delaney Walker. I'm sure he's already on the team. But if he was there and I could look at him and go, wow, that's a consistent 11, I'm going to take Delaney Walker or somebody similar.
And I think a few teams really seen that. I know one in particular because he's my son, but you got Bennett and you got Reed as your tight ends. I mean, you're setting pretty nice with that flex spot on those two. So again, I just think it's more options in the league. It's more flexible to what you enjoy. I like old school, so I think we're getting more and more slots, and you can do this. But honestly, for a real football fan, it lets you play numbers. It lets you look at things. I seen something on ESPN, I think it was the other day, talking about the best defense this year will be whoever plays the New York Jets. So,
yeah.
If you're one of those who like that waiver pick and you can do those flex spots, it's got to be more interesting for some people.
And I look at, like, the Patriots, when they had Aaron Hernandez and Gronkowski, they did run 2 tight ends. So you can build your team. I'm still not 100% sure on the super flex, but we'll see. I do like the idea that teams get to make their team the way they want. You can do whatever you want. A couple things popped up yesterday, just quick. Ezekiel Elliott, that was crazy. 6-game suspension. Of course, he's going to appeal it, and it may not work. I doubt it'll work. I'm sure he'll get the 6 games. They didn't reduce Tom Brady's. But that's just crazy coming out of the middle of the season. I looked at bottom to top as one of the stacked rosters, actually. He had a pretty good roster. If he loses Ezekiel Elliott, obviously that's going to hurt him early in the season.
Watkins off to
6 games
LA.
is a lifetime in
Yeah, that's
fantasy.
huge. That's huge.
Watkins to LA. If Watkins plays, I don't know how much that affects it, but it definitely helps LA. It kills Tyrod Taylor, who didn't need anything else. So we had some big stuff pop up yesterday. And of course, this year we've had some big teams changed around, some players. I think Brandon Cooks was one of the biggest.
Yeah.
Now he went from a top 10 wide receiver to the best. Well, I don't know. Is this quarterback that much better from Drew Brees to Tom Brady? I think he might just be in a crowded backfield, but if he does a Randy Moss, that's a whole different thing.
Absolutely.
So, anybody see anything else in the league before we get to this write-up, or on to the
No, you got your new
draft
team
preview?
coming in.
Got our new team coming in. Now, he is young. We'll point that out, and we'll tell everybody he's young. He's our nephew. We're starting him out. He's a big football fan. He wants Cam Newton. So I'm sure that'll go
Good
over
luck
well.
with that. Yeah.
He's young, and the first few years he's going to be building. It's not going to be a team that's coming in and trading and doing these different things. He's gonna slowly build. He's got, of course, we learned over time that teams do have to drop players to make it fair. So we tried to drop some of his older guys, and now we're building up from him. We dropped Adrian Peterson. Obviously, that was an older one. Melvin Gordon, not quite as old, but we're letting him build up. So bear with him. He's not going to be somebody that's on there. I would not recommend you pester him with 15 trade offers, because Vance Cavan over here is going to be helping him. Sift through that. And we're going to err on the side of caution more than anything on just making sure that his team is building to where when he's ready to handle it on his own, like we did with the Knights of Excalibur, that he's ready to take over and can do what he wants to do. I personally appreciated Dallas Primetime being in the league for what she was. I know she was hamstrung with the team, and draft picks never worked out. She just, that'll happen. She left in a very classy way, I thought, and just told me I've done as much, but I can't devote as much time to the list. So, if anybody ever gets into that point, I would rather you just tell us than
There's always
fade
people
away.
wanting into this dynasty style league, so we appreciate each and every one of you that stick with us through it, and you make this fun to play. And yeah, if you want to leave, do it classy and let us know, and we'll get a replacement for you. But really, every team out there has earned their spot, so we're glad all of you stick with us.
All right.
All right, let's start the fun stuff. The most under-anticipated draft of Blood Bowl history.
All right. Well, I'm going to, because I've got 6 of the picks, and then Snowflake's got 2. I'm going to take the 4 picks that are not us.
I only had her having 1. Where's her second pick?
She's got 1. You're right.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Cool. No, that's fine.
So I'll start with the first 2 because I think those are the easiest ones. And of course, if you've listened to these other ones, and again, if you're sitting there watching this Captain America not move, there, he moved for you. Put some headphones on, go do something, and do a little work, and just listen to it in the background. At no point is there going to be anything really that interesting to watch. I would love to make this where I can put up graphics and video, and I can go, look at this guy, look what Leonard Fournette did in his 4th game. I'm not that good with the computer. I don't know how to do that. So this is basically a podcast on YouTube.
So you get what you get.
Yeah.
And also remember, too, that these picks, please don't let that be a deciding factor in your choice. This is just 3 brothers sitting around shooting the crap.
I'm lying 90% of the time.
But we do try to make it enjoyable for you guys, talk a little smack, and let you know what we think. So, Jonathan, who's number 1 for Keith? If he shows up. This would be, the first draft he showed up in half a decade?
Well, and the thing is, if he's late, we're not going to hold the draft forever, so it could be replacements picking first, but we'll see. The last thing I'll say before I give you my pick is, if you guys want to do better, if you think you can do better, put up a video. I will host any video you want. I will put them up and be happy to show them. Anything you want to do in the league, I will be happy to let you do it. So,
but just remember on that too, we did have a young guns that came in, and at first they were very nice and they were funny and they were professional,
hilarious.
And then they became attacks and nasty.
Yeah.
So, even though I do the butcher every now and then, it's all in good humor, but please, it's a family Blood Bowl league. Keep it clean. Don't get all personal. If you're getting to that point, you probably don't need to be here.
Yeah. Yeah, and talk to one of us. We can figure out what the issue is. So, having said that, number 1 is Killers. I'm assuming he shows up at the draft. It's 2 p.m. I'm recording this on Saturday. What is today? The 12th? August 12th?
Yeah.
Not a one of us knows.
No.
Nobody knows.
August 12th.
It is.
So in exactly 2 weeks, at 2 p.m. Eastern time. I put Eastern Standard Time, but in all honesty, I don't know what the standard means. It may be daylight time. I don't know. I don't know if it's EDT or EST. I've never understood that. So I just
2 o'clock our time.
2 o'clock Eastern. Killer should be drafting. I'm assuming he shows up. I went back and forth on this multiple times. And I might make Killers mad by revealing this. And I hope I don't. I asked him if he wanted to trade the pick. He said no. I hope me revealing that is not some huge secret that Killers is going to be upset about. Having said that, he seemed excited about the pick, which makes me then start looking at who he could be excited about. If it's me, I probably am leaning Melvin Gordon because I know what he's done in the last 2 years. But my gut today says that he's excited because he's been watching college football. He's excited about a college player. It can't be a quarterback. I'm going to go Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, I think Fournette is the exciting, I want somebody new pick. But I'm just going to throw this out here. If you don't take Melvin Gordon, you're rolling the dice. Every rookie, you're rolling the dice.
Agree.
You know what Melvin Gordon is. I've actually slated that he thinks this through and takes Melvin Gordon.
And I had them both. I've got 2 more
Yeah.
drafts within 2 weeks. I'm basing mine solely on him telling me I'm excited about the pick.
Right.
And that makes me think maybe he's looking at a rookie.
Hearing what you said with the excitement, I think he's going with the rookie. But, man, Melvin Gordon, you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
I would go Melvin Gordon here.
Yeah.
I like Fournette, but I think Gordon's the solid choice right now.
I would personally take Gordon. I'm going off of what I feel, and I feel he didn't tell me I want to take a rookie. He didn't tell me
Right.
anything. He just said I'm excited, and when he said excited, I thought Leonard Fournette.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just went that way. Number 2 then would be replacements. Now I'll do this one again, and this is another one that I've went 2 different. I did 2 mock drafts. I did them 2 weeks apart because I wanted to think about it, and I wanted to also do look a little bit at the preseason. And if you watch this 2 weeks later or next week and you finally get around to seeing it and they've played another preseason game, keep in mind, we don't know if people get hurt. No. We don't know if people go out there and just look like idiots or, Leonard Fournette goes into a second preseason game and runs for 400 yards and 12 touchdowns. We don't know. We're just basing it on what we've seen so far. Originally, I went with his Carolina basis and went Christian McCaffrey. Cafferty? Okay, I couldn't read my own writing there. I went with his Carolina basis. I know he loves the Panthers. Why am I losing my mind here? I know he loves the Panthers. He's got Cam Newton. This could be a pick where he gets a guy like that. And honestly, if there's one guy in this draft you want, in any draft, you need to draft him where you get the chance.
Yeah.
I mean, if he really wants McCaffrey, this
Right.
would be a shot because
It's the only shot you're going to get. It is.
He's not going to be there in the second round. I can tell you that.
No.
So if he wants him, that's who he gets. But in this mock draft and in my mock draft I did, if I believe Leonard Fournette goes first, I've got to believe Melvin Gordon goes second. That's just my opinion. I think that's where it would go.
All right, well, I'm going to step in. I've got Melvin Gordon going first, and I'm going a different way with this because I think you, as the Renegades, gets just a free pass this year. I have him taking Deshaun Watson. He needs a quarterback. He needs a quarterback. In the story, he needs a quarterback.
Watson would give him another good running, throwing quarterback. I like Watson.
So, looking at his team, now I agree with you. If I am a huge fan, this is your only shot to get your player. But I've got him down for Watson, off a need, solely off a need.
Vance?
I actually had him for Fournette, but since Fournette's gone, I'd probably go with McCaffrey. Because, like they say, it's your only shot. He ain't making it to the second round.
And it's one of those times. It's not a reach. It's not where you're going. Well, am I going to reach? But I look at Cavant last year, and we talked about this in last year's video. What was it, Jordan Howard? Mm-hmm. And I think Alan actually said that you'll take Jordan Howard early. It was like mid first round, wherever your pick was. And I kind of said, well, that's too early to take it. Of course, he had a great season. And now, how are you ever going to get him? I mean, if it's your guy. You had to get him at that point. And I don't know. I think he might have even been gone by then. I don't know the situation in the draft. I'd have to go back to the draft last year. But at that point, he was gone, and there was no way to get him back. So I think if you really love the Carolina Panthers, and I think he does. I could be wrong. But I know he's got Kelvin Benjamin. I know he's got Cam Newton. And Christian McCaffrey's exciting. He's looked good from the reports. His preseason game was good. His footage was good, at least. So
He's a good pick.
it's whoever you want. But I think I would go Melvin Gordon. And I think despite how we did it, that gets Gordon and Fournette off the board. I agree with you on Deshaun Watson, though. I think he's exciting. All right, so number 3 is me. I'll listen, and then I'll just agree or disagree with the picks on this one. I mean, there's good players. I'm just going to tell you if I think a guy's good or not.
Mine are really easy for Cheap Trick. The first 2 picks he holds on to, the number 3 and 4. And remember, going off of my picks, Watson and Gordon are all that's gone. So Jonathan picks up Fournette and Davis from Tennessee. He picks up the number 1 receiver and the number 1 running back, both back-to-back.
If Fournette's there, I would assume that he would go in the 3 and 4. I mean, there's not much sense in going, I don't think so.
Right.
You know, Fournette is I'm going to get one of the top 4 picks.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to get 2 of the top 4 players. So Fournette, I would definitely say would be in there. So Keith, if you're thinking, I'll get Gordon and then Fournette in the second round, that's probably not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Davis, he is the number 1 wide receiver. I like him too. He's pretty good. Vance?
I agree with Alan. You're going to take whichever one of the 3 running backs are left, McCaffrey, Fournette,
Or
Gordon. In our draft, it would be Gordon right now. And then you're going to take whichever one of the...
In our draft, Fournette and Gordon are gone. So it would be McCaffrey.
I thought McCaffrey went.
I said in my original I thought McCaffrey, but in this particular instance where it went Fournette first, I would say Melvin Gordon is replacement. Yeah, it gets very confusing here because we're all doing different mock drafts, and now I've thrown in a second mock draft on the mock drafts I'm doing, so...
Well, then I guess you would go McCaffrey, and then I think you'd go for whichever receiver you think is the best, which I have down as Kenny Galloway from Detroit.
I don't know who that is.
It's an awesome
Obviously
pick,
not.
but thank you for throwing a sleeper right there in the top 4 picks. Number 5, I'm going to say in my draft here,
Galladay.
he's still available.
Galladay?
I think it's Galladay.
Galladay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
What did I say?
Galloway. Yeah, Kenny Galloway.
You said Galloway. I was like, did he come back? And wasn't that
Galladay,
Joey?
Sorry about that.
Number 5, Snowflake picks up the obvious left pick here in McCaffrey on my draft. So that's got me getting rid of Gordon, Fournette, McCaffrey, Davis, and Watson as the top 5 picks.
I have not talked to Snowflake about this yet. I will. At some point, we'll sit down and talk about this. So I don't know. I don't know what she's leaning towards. I know sometimes she looks at things and she doesn't like, say, a Browns player. There's certain times that she'll shy away from somebody and go, I just don't like their team. So there's a lot of things that come into play on her. I will say her roster is stacked. Mm-hmm. I looked at her roster and it's unreal. She's got 4 quarterbacks, all of them, well, Jared Goff I won't say is worth having, but the 3 best are worth having, Rivers, Breeze, and Cousins. She's got running back. She's got wide receivers. She had a wide receiver 2 in Robbie Anderson, who's now a wide receiver 1 of the Jets. I don't think he's a star, but he'll be the number 1 target. So, and that's her backup. So she can go any which way but loose. I mean, she could take, in this one, if McCaffrey's there, she could take him. Top 5 pick. It can't go wrong.
I actually have her taking a defensive lineman. I think she'll take Jadeveon Clowney.
Never happened. I've predicted her to take a defensive player high before, and she won't do it.
I'd be surprised.
Right.
I mean,
I like Clowney. I don't like him in number 5 pick.
In fairness, I just go by the needs I think your team has.
Yeah.
And her team needs defensive linemen because it hasn't got one.
Right.
So Jadeveon Clowney
It's one of the best and more exciting ones out there. I agree.
I know how Snowflake works at these drafts, and usually it goes, the first pick she gets very excited about because she'll make a list of, in this case it's 5, but she'll make a list of 5, and whichever of those 5 are available, she'll take that one. And, if the highest one, if there's a couple of them. By the end of it, she's like, a kicker, I don't care, just pick me up whatever kicker. So I don't see her taking a defensive player just because she gets excited about the name guy. Could be, though.
So, do you have a pick for her? No, you said you don't know.
I do not know. I think if I was, up until a week ago, I would have slotted her to take a wide receiver. But with Robbie Anderson becoming the de facto number 1, I don't know. I mean, it's just going to come down to whichever name she sees that she thinks is best. If McCaffrey's there, he's got a good chance because she has nothing against the Panthers. If you ever notice, look at her team. You can figure out what team she doesn't like. She doesn't draft players from certain teams, so certain players have no chance of getting to the team.
Right. Number 6, back to Renegades again. This is the first one I think there's a shot of him trading off. If he holds it, I kind of went 2 different ways on this. I just kind of took the pick I thought would fit here if he holds the pick. But I figure he's going to trade it. If he holds it, I go Joe Mixon here.
That is a crowded backfield in the Bengals, but
I think you secure.
I carried a guy who punched another woman, so I don't know if that'll stop me from doing it.
I just think that it solidifies your backup position and makes your team even more gross.
This is a very running back heavy draft.
Yes.
Well, I didn't go Mixon, but I went Mike Gillislee.
Yeah,
Gillislee.
That's a good.
Gillislee.
Gillislee.
He's good too. The only thing I'll say is I still am mad about not Mendenhall, Lawrence Maloney. I'm still mad at Lawrence Maloney. Maroney, I believe is his actual name, but the Patriots burnt me on that one. I've got him on my list here, but he did make me mad, so I don't know if I would.
The Patriots have a weird way of using their running backs. I hate the Patriots for the way they play their fantasy players, but a lot of their players are really good.
Actually, yeah, and he's picked to have a decent point. He would be a great number 5 running back on any team.
Yeah.
Gillislee would be, but
And at this point, you already have Corey Davis off the board, so that solves the wide receiver depth issue, which is probably what I have more of anything. But honestly, the wide receivers are not as exciting this year as in prior years. But I didn't think Odell Beckham was that great. So
I got to take plenty of wide receivers from 8 to 10. So
number 7, Alf, which I'm going to take him here. I got 2 different mock drafts. The one we're currently going on mine, he's still available. I haven't taken Deshaun Watson. With Ryan Tannehill out, I think Watson has to be the first quarterback off the board unless Vance gets to pick in the first round again and maybe takes Trubisky. How did they say it?
I have no idea.
Trubisky.
Loser.
Yeah.
He looked
That's how they
awesome.
say it.
He played really well against the third stringers. But I think Watson actually, and this is something this is just behind the scenes, me being honest. When I was making trades earlier in this thing last year, some of these running backs and wide receivers hadn't become, the hot picks and whatnot. They never changed. Watson was somebody I really was watching because he's got legs. They always knock him, well, he doesn't do this or he doesn't do that. But every game I've ever seen him play, and I've seen several, I'm not a college football connoisseur. I just watch some of the bigger games. Every big game he's played, he's done well. Now, they say he didn't do well when he played Southeastern Missouri, but I'm going to be honest with you, when your team wins by 60, and that's when you run out on the field, you're already up by 60, who cares? He's probably not trying as hard. That's not going to happen in the NFL. He's going to have to be locked in each week. The games that mattered, the championship game, I saw the game against Louisville, he's always been good. So I would not be against him. In my other draft, originally I had you at Mike Williams. Of course, his back has went out since then, and you've lost a quarterback. So I would go Deshaun Watson at this point.
I think you're totally wrong. There's no way Alf goes for quarterback or wide receiver.
He does go running back.
He goes running back. He's going to go Delvin Cook.
He could. He could go
Delvin Cook, yeah.
He could. And I'm not denying it. I'm not denying that that's a very likely scenario. I'm making my pick on Watson based on what's been selected so far.
Remember, this was done before Tannehill.
And he just lost Tannehill. He'd want to use it for the super flex, or at the worst, he needs it for 1 week during the season.
That's right.
For a backup quarterback. Maybe you can find it in the free agent pool. They've started appearing, these backup guys, for week to week. But I don't know. I'm just going Deshaun Watson. I think it's a possibility.
My next 3 picks,
for anybody but Alf.
All cheap trick. So I'm just going to rattle them off. And again, I do think he will trade some of these away. It's just a matter of what you're willing to pay to get them. But I know his draft style pretty good. So here's what I got if he holds on to 8 through 10. Meredith, wide receiver. Kareem Hunt, running back. And John Ross from Cincinnati are the next 3 picks that I have him slated taken. And he can't afford, let me tell you guys so nobody gets all frustrated, he can't afford to take all these picks, or he's going to be dropping people out who are going to be at least as good as some of these picks. So when you're talking Kareem Hunt, John Ross, and Meredith here, is the person you're dropping off your roster, is this rookie guaranteed to do better? So I don't know. I don't think he keeps all of these picks, but
I have
those
a
are
few
my 3.
slots that I can get rid of.
Right, you do,
Robert
but I don't think you have 6. Well, I think you have 6 slots that you're willing to go. I'll drop 6 people. I've looked at your team. You could. I'm just saying, if you do, there's going to be some good draft picks out there for people.
I will say this in terms of that. At this point, if I haven't made a blockbuster deal early on, which is what it would take to get the first, say, 2 picks I have, 3 and 4. If I haven't traded at that point, I would be willing to entertain trades. But I'm not going to be to the point where, I've got 6, I can't do anything with them, because there are defensive upgrades.
That's correct.
There are upgrades. I would rather take something that I can improve than give you a first for a second next year or something like
Agreed.
that. So I'll be available to trade, but I don't feel like I'm on the pressure to go, I can't do it. I gotta make pick.
All I'm saying is that whatever you drop is probably an upgrade for people too.
Yes.
So,
In fairness, in my mock draft, I have a Cheap Trick taking 2 DBs in these 3 picks.
and he could afford to do that. Absolutely.
He could.
I mean, it's not very often. I think I'm the first person that ever took a defensive player in the first round, but it's not often that you could do that and go, it don't hurt me at all. Yeah, he could pick up 2 defensive players here and not even bat an eye.
Because my 6th pick is, in some weird theory, my 6th round pick. I mean, if you
Right.
look at it, it's not like
Right.
I'm drafting, my number 1 overall is
Right.
this. I mean, by then I'm looking at it going,
What do I want to upgrade?
Yeah.
That's all you're looking
Out
at.
of curiosity, which defensive backs?
Sean Williams from Cincinnati and Von Bell from New Orleans.
Okay. All right.
I know that. I think that, I like where I went because I like what you're saying. Because if he does do that, then people like, I'm drawing a blank here.
Rags to riches.
Mudcats?
The ones who are not getting a first round pick, if he takes defensive players, that bleeds into the second round, some of this young talent. So it's very possible that round 2 will be more exciting this year than it has ever been before because of the amount of picks that Jonathan has.
Fortunately, I get a 3rd round pick.
But that's hurting. Yeah, maybe we can talk about getting your second round.
I don't even know what happened to my 1st and 2nd round.
I don't know what happened to your second. I'm enjoying your first. I really don't know where your
Must
second
have needed a quarterback.
Moving on to 11, Rag to Riches.
I'll take this. I haven't picked in a while.
We've heard you talk an awful lot.
I just
He never stops.
I don't know.
Anyway,
that's why you want me as the
I got the
commissioner.
sexy
I gotta
voice. Anyway.
go back through here and listen to any running back's name that's been called that we haven't officially taken off the board. In mine, it's Gillisley, but it could be Hunt, Cook, Mixon,
Whoever's left, yeah.
Yeah, I've got different names here, but his is a running back. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not.
Totally agree.
I agree. I actually have Woodhead, but I have Gillisley as the backup to that.
Woodhead could
so.
be it too. The thing about Woodhead, he's just not sexy. You know,
Yeah, he's
it's
not.
just-
I've had him on my team, and he's one of those that you're like,
He's your second round pick. You're like, I got him in the second. That's good. But your first, you're like, because last year he got Dak Prescott. You know, he fired off of, and keep in mind, by the way, he got Dak Prescott last year because Dak Prescott was officially named like halfway through the draft.
Yes.
It just kind of felt like, he shows up as Dak Prescott's announced as the starter for the Dallas Cowboys for a while, and Tony Romo's going to be out. So, barring a situation like that, I think he takes one of the next running backs.
Yeah,
whoever.
I agree.
I don't know. And number 12, Drew's Warriors. Vance, I didn't cut you off on that, did I?
Nope, that was it.
Okay.
Running back.
I thought that's
I
what you
think
said.
Drew's Warrior here in 12, and y'all probably laugh at me, and I don't mean to be mean to anybody, but Drew's Warrior is kind of I'm going to say he's one of the most vanilla teams we have. He plays good, he plays hard. I've got him taking Adrian Peterson here. A known name, a vanilla commodity. I'm not saying that in any negative way. I'm just saying that he is very steady in the way he goes. I think he needs a running back. I go with Big AP.
See, I think he needs a wide receiver, so I think he goes with Pierre Garçon.
Again, though, you're doing the exact same thing because Pierre Garçon to me he's higher than any rookie in projected points.
Yeah.
But there's absolutely nothing exciting about Pierre Garçon.
Well, it's actually true. It hurt my fingers to write that down when I did.
I mean,
It's like, really?
there's
Pierre Garçon?
both of our picks kind of reflect the Drew's Warrior style of I'm going to be a contender, but I'm not on that top end. I'm not on the low end. I'm just pushing through.
Well, I, unlike you all, give him credit and think he's going to go exciting. Von Miller.
So he's going to be the second one, other than you maybe, to take a defense.
Yeah, I got him going Von Miller. Look,
But-
Drew's Warriors has a good team.
Yes.
I don't think no disrespect intended, although I know the statement is not going to come across as the nicest. I think he hit really well last year at the end of the season. I think he got a good run through some teams, and I think it worked out really well for him. He's got a team that can compete. Yeah. I don't think he's rags to riches last year coming into the season. I thought had the look of a team that could repeat.
Yeah.
I don't know that I think Drew's Warriors is going to repeat. I still think rags to riches is good. I think I can improve with this team. I think Snowflake is loaded. Alf's still good. I mean, there's still good teams out there that are over the top good. Bottom of the top's really good. Cavant will do some moves throughout the season that'll keep him very competitive.
From having a first-round draft pick.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah, you only made the playoffs last year, and I look at your roster and go, how? But you always will. I mean, you'll maybe not make the playoffs, and
but
maybe
you'll
there'll
always
be
push.
Yeah, you'll push. You end up pushing until about week 10 or 11, and then you figure out if you can do it, and then you tank a couple. So your end records are not always indicative of what your team does. Yeah, about 10 or 11, I did it last year where I decided a little sooner than I probably would have liked, and I tanked a little bit earlier. You'll do the same thing. You've always done it to where you go, okay, I'm at this point, I'm a buyer, okay, forget it. It's just not happening. Drew's Warriors, I think, has a legitimate shot. I'm not willing to pencil them in as a dynasty yet. And I don't see anybody sitting there at this point going, well, if he can get that at 12, he's winning another championship.
Right.
It's going to be a Von Miller. It's going to be something. It's going to be a name, but I don't know. Is there anything exciting at this point?
Not
anyways?
Really. But
you guys are picking Pierre Garçons and, gosh, I even went blank. I don't know. Adrian Peterson, who could be a good pick for a year or two. I don't know. Yeah. I would be excited. Think about if you're Keith, though. You get the number 1 pick, and you can be Melvin Gordon and Adrian Peterson, or Leonard Fournette and Adrian Peterson. I mean, I know Adrian Peterson's old, and he's not going to score 20 touchdowns, I don't think. But with the New Orleans Saints,
he could vulture 8 to 10 easy. I mean, that's realistic. 8 to 10, realistic.
Yeah.
So you're talking your number 3 or number 4 running back, 8 to 10 touchdowns?
Yeah.
There's teams who are dying for that, who would love it. And I want to kind of close with that too, Jonathan. And I think this is one of the few years that on my sheet I have 12 names written for the second round.